So far you haven't got it. So it would be better that it would be right now you are being integrated into a batch. You have been added into a batch, and as per that, we are going to continue further. Okay, now once I get your syllabus, once the syllabus would be sent to me, and then accordingly we will be going on. All right.
Okay, sir.
So right now we are doing the chapter living organisms and their surroundings. So other students will also be joining that. Meanwhile, let me just give you a brief introduction of the chapter. So in the chapter living organism in and the surroundings, we have to basically study about what is an environment, what does an environment consist of. Like if we happen to look around ourselves, we get to see there are namely two kind of organisms in our environment, based on whether they have life in them or based on whether they have life in them or not. So they are biotic components and they are abiotic components. Like they are living organisms in the environment and then they are non-living organisms in the environment. Yes, Halima, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
I'm fine, sir.
Good. Okay. Furthermore, we know that there are different kind of organisms that will be suited to live in a given environment only. For example, camels would be well suited to live in a desert. Polar bears would be well suited to live in the polar regions, like in Antarctica. Certain kind of organisms would be well suited to live in a rainforest only. Getting it now? So there are different kind of living organisms that we'll be learning, and we'll be learning about the surrounding, what kind of surrounding they are found to be living in. Right, Halima and Kadishat, both of you turn your cameras on in the class. Hana hasn't joined the class today, no? Neither has Ira. Anyways, furthermore, we in the chapter we get to see that different organisms shows some adaptation in the environment in which they would be living. Like camels have certain adaptations that help them to survive in their habitat. Right now, Halima?
Yes, sir.
So what we learned about camels, like camels, they have long legs to keep their body away from the heat of the sun. They have long eyelashes to filter the sun's rays or to protect their eyes from the sand particles. Right. Furthermore, we learned that their body has a thick fur on it, as you can see over here, that provides it protection against the cold in night. During night, during the night, what we see that deserts are usually are having usually high temperature, usually very hot during the day. But in the night, opposite happens. If you ever happen to visit a desert area, you will observe that during the night, the temperature will drop. Right now, Halima and Kadishat.
Yes,
So thereby, during the
Sir.
night, their body will be protected from cold because of this thick fur. Camels are known to drink lots of water at a single time, and they can go without water for weeks. They can go without water. If furthermore, they will be excreting very small quantity of urine. Hmm. They have fat stored in this structure called as hump, and they can utilize this fat in times of shortage of food and water to obtain energy. These are some adaptations. Like this, there are number of other organisms that would be adapted to their environment, and those adaptations help them to survive in their environment. So in the chapter so far, we have learned about like what are the organisms that would be living under the water and how are they adapted to the water body. Okay, this will be revisiting for you, Khadijat. Later on, the first part of the chapter, we'd be revisiting for particularly for you. Okay, now? But in
Okay,
later
sir.
classes, right? I'm just giving you a brief introduction of what are the things we have done so far. So talking about the aquatic habitat, basically an aquatic habitat is basically being referred to an area of land that is covered with water where animals and plants can also survive. So we have freshwater, marine habitat, and coastal habitat. Like for example, this is an example of a coastal habitat where we get to see that land and water body are meeting. The meeting place of a land and a water body is called as coastal area. So what kind of organisms would be found there? What kind of animals and plants would be found there? How will they be adapted to that area to survive? That is something which we have to learn, and in fact that has been done, but later on we'll be revisiting that while we'll be revising this chapter. And Halima, we did learn about how the fishes would be adapted to live under the water. Fishes have a very special shape. They have a
Yes, sir.
streamlined shape. Now the front part of the body has got a very small area, so that when it swims in the water, it can swim without any resistance. Getting it, Khadija?
Sir, they also have like a smooth. They also have scales on it, so that if we touch it, I mean, if we catch the fish, they'll quickly move out.
Slips out of our hand. No?
Yeah.
So Khadija, you would have also observed like there are so many slippery scales on the surface of the fishes that allows it to move swiftly in the water, swim swiftly in the water. Unlike we humans, they don't have lungs, so they can't take oxygen from the air, but they take oxygen dissolved in the water with the help of their gills. So they have gills in them. Okay, no? That is something. Okay. Furthermore, we know that the type of plants that grow in the water body, they also show some adaptation. Okay, now they also show some adaptation. Like for example, this water lily, there are lots of air bubbles filled in the leaves of this water lily. So the weight of the leaf is reduced, and hence it is able to float on the water body. Hmm. It has a waxy coating. There's a waxy coating on the surface of the leaf, so water does not sticks onto the surface of the leaf. That is also one such adaptation.
Sir, on top of the leaf, like on top of the leaf, there are small like
Openings called as stomata.
Yeah.
And stomata would be present only on the upper surface of the leaves, not on the bottom of the leaf. Right now, those are some adaptations in that case. Okay. In the previous class, we were learning about this one actually, Halima. Okay, so Khadija, you would be mainly continuing from here. Okay, now the first part of the chapter which we have done. Later on, I will take some class, take a special class for you to cover that. Okay, it would be basically called 15 minutes earlier to the meeting time. Okay. So continuing from the terrestrial habitat, basically terrestrial habitat basically referred to a land habitat.
Deserted area.
Like for example, deserts or grassland or mountainous regions, particularly that. So we did learn that desert is basically an area on land that will receive very low amount of rainfall, or the temperature would be usually very high and it can be very low also. Okay. So there are two type of deserts. One that will be having a high temperature called as hot desert, while another one would be a cold desert where the temperature would be extremely low and snowfalls would be common in that area. One common thing to be observed is that both hot and cold deserts will have very less amount of vegetation. The plants growing there will be only few in number. We have some example of cold and hot desert, like Great Basin is one such example of a cold desert, or the Arabian desert, or like Thar desert, which is spread in some part of India and Pakistan. That is one such example of a hot desert. Getting it? So what kind of organism would be able to survive here? Since there is scarcity of water, only a small amount of water is present in this. So the kind of plants that would be growing, their roots would be very, very deep. They would be long, they would be branched, and they would be very deep, so that they can access maximum amount of water, they can absorb maximum amount of water. We did learn about cactus, like in the cactus, are the leaves present on the cactus? Yes, Khadija? Do you see any leaves on the cactus?
Yes, sir.
Are leaves present on the cactus? No. Instead of leaves, thorns are present, spines are present instead of the leaves. Okay, na? Why?
Yes, sir.
Because if the leaves were to be present, lots of water will be lost from the surface of leaves. Getting it, guys? So that is an adaptation in this. So, guys, as we know that photosynthesis is usually performed by the leaves now. So in these kind of plant, like in cactus, which part of the plant would be performing photosynthesis?
Sir, the juicy part, like the waxy coating of the cactus.
Here the question, listen to the question carefully. Also, both of you turn your cameras on the class. Do let me know that you guys are there sitting in your study room and not like just sleeping on the bed or doing any other activity. So instead of leaf, the stem of the cactus will be performing photosynthesis. The stem, this part that where I'm pointing now, this is the part called as stem. This will be performing the photosynthesis. I think both of you know about photosynthesis now.
Yes, sir.
What is photosynthesis? It's a process by which plants will be preparing their food. That is what photosynthesis is. Okay. So instead of leaves, the stems would be performing photosynthesis in plants. In the case of camels, they are having several adaptations, like to protect themselves from cold in the night. They will be having a thick fur. Their feet are wide so that they are able to walk comfortably on the sand. So their feet are wide. Okay, now if it were to be very thin like this one, so thereby due to increased pressure, they will not be able to walk comfortably. So wide feet reduces the pressure on sand.
Sand sinks inside the water. It is
Exactly. Exactly. If it were to be thin, thereby their feet will be sinking in the sand, hence will not be able to walk comfortably. Okay. Furthermore, they have got long eyelashes that filters out the sun's rays and prevents the dust from entering into their eye. They have double eyelids. If you happen to look at the camel's eyelid now, they will be having two eyelids. That is also that also helps them. Like whenever there's a sand storm, whenever there's a storm in the desert, so the double eyelid will prevent any sand particles to enter into their eyes. They have a hump on top of their body which will be storing fat. They will not be sweating. Their body does not sweat. They excrete very small amount of urine, thereby minimizing the loss of water. So these are some things which we have learned. In the case of plants, also we have learned that plants would be having spines in them that will that are kind of modified leaves. Instead of leaves, spines are present. There's one more advantage of a spine, that it provides protection against them. As we know that this juicy part of the plant, now this stem contains lots of water in this. So it's obvious that animals in search of water might come to this cactus and might eat the stem of the cactus. But since there are thorns present over it, the animal will think before eating this stem. Okay, now? But what we know that camels are well adapted. They are so much well adapted, they can even consume the cactus plant because they have a rough tongue. Their tongues are very rough. That enables them to do so. So these were some of the general adaptations that are shown by living organisms in a desert. Their body can store lots of water. They can escape the heat, like the different kind of rodents, like different kind of reptiles, like snakes or the rats would be making holes in the ground called as burrows. So during the day, they will hide themselves in the burrows to prevent themselves from the scorching heat. So when it is hot, they will be resting under the burrows. Most of the animals would be having a thick skin, so thereby loss of water will be minimized. Roots of the plants would be very deeper. The roots of the plants would be very deeper. Right now, to defend the water, present in the stem of the cactus plant, thorns are present. So thorns or spines, yes,
Thorns are present for that.
exactly, no. And instead of leaves, plants are having thorns. Like they are losing their leaves to get thorns, basically. As you can see, this is how the thorns would be looking. Okay, no. That is something which we have learned in the previous class as we were learning about the mountainous regions now. So we see that Basically an area on land, area on earth that will be having mountains, lots of mountains in it, will be called as mountainous region. There we have seen that the plants that will be have a cone shaped structure like this, as you can see over here, like the pine tree or the fir tree, also called as Christmas tree. They have a cone shaped
Yes.
structure, so that
Yes, sir.
when there will be snowfall, no snow will not accumulate, it will not settle on the branches but will fall down, right now.
Sir, even on some of the houses, like near the house,
Exactly.
some of the houses are also like that.
Exactly.
Sloping.
Exactly. Like if you happen to visit like certain parts, like for example Ladakh or Shimla in India, in particular in winters, there'd be snowfall in those areas, and we get to see the roof of the houses would be slanting like this. It would be like this, so that snow falls. Snow does not accumulate on it, but rather slips from the roof of the house because of a cone shape. The needles would be kind of like this, would be pointy and would be needle like this. I mean to say leaves actually. Leaves would be like having a needle shape, so that snow does not accumulate on them, it falls basically. The leaves, the branches of the tree would be growing close to the ground. The bark of the tree will be very thick, and I did told you about the pine cones also. Also, like the
Yes.
seeds of the certain trees would be found in a structure called as pine cones. So there, by
Yes.
those were some adaptations. So talking about some common adaptations which we have seen, like also we know that mountainous regions would be cold also, right? A mountainous region would be usually cold, right? So some of the
Yes.
animals would be having thick fur on their body. Right now they would be having thick fur on their body to prevent their body from cold. Right now they would be having thick layer of fat on them to give them with some give make to keep the body warm. Organisms like bears would be going hibernation during the winter season. So during the winter season, what happens now? There's a scarcity of food. In the winter, there's a scarcity of food, meaning that the available amount of food is very low. So thereby the bears would be going under a deep sleep. They will sleep for particularly for months, for the whole winter season. They will basically sleep. Right now they will go into a deep sleep, and once the winter would be over, they will wake up again. So bears are adapted in this manner. Okay. Furthermore, the like as we know in the mountainous region now, the amount of oxygen in the air is less. If you ever happen to visit a mountainous
Yes.
region, so thereby one of the most common problem we will observe is that we will suffer from a condition like breathlessness. We'll suffer from breathlessness. Hmm? Just after walking few meters, few kilometers, you will feel out of breath. You will feel short of breath. Have you guys visited to a mountainous region? Huh? You know why the people that would be climbing the mountains, for example the mountain climbers, like people who would be going to the mountain Everest, why do they have to carry oxygen cylinders with them? uh, why people
Sir, because while going up, the air pressure decreases, so they have to like um go
obviously
with
see,
the oxygen cylinder.
not particularly that, not that is not the main reason. See, basically as we go up higher, as we go to a mountain which is a very high place on earth, so there the concentration of oxygen decreases, the amount of oxygen in the air decreases. Okay, now so it will be difficult for we humans to be comfortable in that much in that area. So thereby, like our body needs needs sufficient amount of oxygen to carry out different function. So thereby we feel difficulty in mountainous region right now. But what about the animals that are already living in the mountainous region? So the capacity of the lung is increased in their body. Their lungs size would be usually bigger in size. Okay, so the capacity of the lung is increased in the mountainous region, so that they can they can take maximum oxygen from the air. So the lungs capacity increases. Getting it?
Yes, sir.
Like for example, if we were to compare the lungs of a mountainous goat, a goat in the mountain region, or a normal goat found in the low-lying areas, so the size of the lung of a mountainous goat will be bigger because its capacity is more. That is one such adaptation. Okay, so now we are going on to discuss with the next type of habitat. Okay, now that is a grassland habitat. Okay, so grasslands are basically open, flat areas on land that are covered by the grass, and they
Sir,
would be yes.
in South Africa, like in South Africa also there are like no caged like animals. They are all like open, and sometimes when we visit there, they
Mhm.
like let us to go through visit animals on a car, like jeepers.
Okay, okay. In South Africa, we would be talking about the savanna grassland.
Yes, sir.
Savanna grassland is there in the South Africa. Okay, no, it's a very beautiful grassland there in that. Okay, it is
And
not
sir,
only in
the
Africa but
grasses
in
are like are very long, like up to
yeah,
our heights. Like we can't see any.
exactly. Or like actually, Halima, you are talking about like the animals like lions. They can hide in the grasses. The grasses
Yes.
would be so tall that they can hide. Okay, now also if a grass dries up now, so the color of the grass and the color of the body of the lion, both of them would be same actually, right? You see, when a grass dries now,
Yes,
it becomes yellowish in color, golden yellowish in color,
yes.
and the color of the lion is also same. So the lions can actually hide behind those tall grasses like this. Okay, no? So it will be
Yes.
difficult for the other animals to spot the island that will be hidden between the grasses. Anyways, talking about the grass
Good.
land base. Yes, yes, Salman, you are there in the sixth standard. Hello. Okay. Anyways, continuing the class. Talking about the grassland.
Hello.
What? Yes. Yes, Salman, you are in the sixth standard.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
This is your first class.
Yes.
Okay. 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 So I suppose this is your first trial class actually. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, see, so Suleiman, introduce yourself. Like, where are you from?
Ma'am, sir, I am from India,
Okay, which state in India?
Hyderabad.
From Hyderabad. Okay, okay,
Yes.
okay. And which school you have been going to?
IISR.
IISR. Okay, so currently you are living in India or out of India?
Out of India.
Out of India. Okay, okay. Have you shared your upcoming exam syllabus with the team? Have you got the syllabus of your upcoming exam in your school, or
Same, sir.
okay? No, no, I'm asking about this thing, like which, after a month, I believe, probably in September, you guys would be having your half yearly exams. Khadija and Halima, you guys also would be having your half yearly exams in September, no?
Yes, sir.
So it's
Yeah,
actually on October.
in October. Yeah, Halima, you
Yes,
have shared your syllabus. I have got your syllabus. Yeah, good. Khadija, you haven't got your syllabus right now, no?
Yes, sir.
Not yet. The moment you get it, make sure you share it with the team. Salman, you also haven't got your syllabus with from the school, or have you?
What?
Salman, have you got your syllabus for the upcoming exams?
Yes.
You have got it. Okay. Which chapters are there in your half yearly exams? Yeah, I'm asking for the portion of your half-yearly exam. Which chapters are part of your syllabus?
Sir, I will send you.
Okay, okay. Share it with the team. Okay. Your schools have reopened. It must have reopened after the vacation.
Yes, sir.
Which chapter is currently going on in your schools? Yes, Salman. Which chapter is going on in your school? Like separation of substances, is it sorting materials into groups? Okay, that you can update the team. Right now, see, we are doing the chapter living organisms and their surroundings. That chapter is right now going on in the class. And in the chapter living organism and their surroundings, we have to basically discuss about what an environment is, what are the different type of organisms, what is habitat. Hmm? We know certain organisms are adapted to a given environment only right now. So that is basically in habitat. So an organism would be dependent on its habitat for all its requirement, whether it be food, shelter, protection, etc. So there are different kind of habitats. Habitats like you have aquatic habitats, uh, you have terrestrial habitat, basically the land habitat. So there are different kind of land habitats. For example, there is desert, there is mountain habitat, there is grassland habitat. Right now we are discussing about the grassland habitat. So you continue from here, okay now. So talking about the grasslands are actually very old habitats. Grasslands are very old habitats, and it developed after the ice age. When ice age ended now, then the grasslands came into existence. You guys know about ice age. There was a time in the history of the earth when the temperature of the earth was very low and the whole earth was covered with ice. Yeah,
Yes.
you'd be aware like giant animals like woolly mammoths were living back then.
Yes, sir. So
You might
they were extinct that time.
exactly. Now they are extinct right now. You might guys
Yes.
might have seen the cartoons like this Ice Age or Ice Age Continental Drift.
Yes, sir.
There were so many cartoon
Sir,
characters in that.
there was an animal looking like elephant that had a very large trunk. I mean, the
Uh-huh.
horns.
I don't know the name of that, but I think Scrat. Are you talking about Scrat?
No, sir. The animal which he just told. The that thing.
Woolly mammoth. Okay, okay. Anyway, see, basically what I'm talking about Ice Age. Uh, So Ice Age, it was a period on it was a long period on Earth. It was a that period in the history of Earth when the temperature of the Earth's surface was very low and everything was covered with ice. So once the ice age ended, after that Grasslands developed after the end of ice age. Okay, now. Anyways, talking about what grasslands are, so we define that grasslands are that these are open, flat areas on land that are covered with grass, that are covered by grass. So, for instance, have a look at this image over here. This area of land on Earth is covered with grass. Okay, no? These are grass. You would have heard of some common grasslands. Like there are different kind of grasslands found in different parts of the world, like in Africa, in South America, in North America, in Australia. One of the most common grassland, which you might have seen in your textbooks, like this one, like the savanna grassland. Okay, like the savanna grassland. This one I'm talking about. The one that you see over here. See, look at the
Yes, sir.
grass and look at the color of the grasses. And the grasses many times would be very tall, and it would be so tall that animals can literally hide among the grasses. Have a look at this second image which I have taken over here. Hmm? You guys can observe one very interesting thing in this image. You would have observed that the animals in this one, the second image, this lion, it can literally hide among the grasses. It can literally hide among the grasses right now. And this one is, I have taken the image of the savanna grasslands. So there are different grasslands on earth. They're in different countries. Furthermore, different grasslands in different areas are known by different names. Okay, na? The same grassland can be known by different names in different areas. But the simple thing about the grassland, what we have learned, that they are the habitat on Earth, on the planet Earth, that would be having lots of grasses in them. That area will be a flat land, and that will be covered with grass. Furthermore, it will be a home to lots of species. For example, the
Yes,
grasslands would
sir.
be home to a variety of species like tiger, deer, lion, or hyenas, or cheetah, even ostriches, even animals like kangaroos or buffaloes. Even zebras can be found here. Snakes, worms, different kind of lions, different leopards can be found. Different species of elephants would be found in the grassland. Getting it, guys? So these are the places that are covered with grass, and
Sir,
also
frog lives in the water, right?
a frog lives in the water, but in certain parts of the grassland, frogs can also be found. Okay, no,
Okay.
right? Furthermore, most of the plants that will be growing in the grassland, na, they don't need much water. They don't need that much amount of water. So even a small amount of water, they can survive. Getting it, guys? Everyone?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Also, if you were to look at the kind of plants that grow here, majority of the plants that will be growing will be basically grasses, but you can find some plants, you can find some trees also. There can be some trees in this region also, but the trees will not be very branchy. Okay, now the trees will not be having that much of branches. The trees can be found, but will have only few branches in it. Okay.
Sir, it can be like a bit of shrubby.
Yeah, kind of that. Okay, now also we see that this grassland is a place that will be receiving more rainfall than a desert, but will be receiving less rainfall than a forest. What do I mean to say? What we know about the deserts now, that deserts are areas on earth, land on earth, that will receive very low rainfall. That will receive very low rainfall. So much less rainfall occurs in a desert that it is not sufficient to suffice the need of we humans, to fulfill the needs of we humans. Like for for growth of crops, you need sufficient amount of water. Now for growing plants, you need sufficient amount of
Yes,
water, but that is not available in a desert now. Getting it, guys? For our day-to-day life activities like for bathing, for washing, and for other things, we need water, which is not there in the desert. So hence, it not suitable. Why? Because it receives very less amount of rainfall. That is one thing. But we were
yes,
to if we were to talk about this grassland now, it will receive rainfall. It will be more. It will be receiving more rainfall than a desert. It will be receiving more rainfall than a desert. That is one of the characteristics of a grassland, that it receives more rainfall than a desert. Getting it, us? Salman, Khadijat, and Halima.
yes, sir.
Yes,
But
sir.
it will be receiving less rainfall than a forest. If you were to compare it with the forest, like when we'd be learning about the forest now, so we will get to know that forest are the areas, like I mean to say a rainforest particularly would be an area which will be receiving the highest amount of rainfall. Like in the image, as you can see,
Yes,
dense vegetation is observed here. All so many
yes.
trees, so many plants, so many shrubs are found to be growing in this
Sir,
forest.
the plants are very tall that only a little, like
Sunlight will
almost
be
half of the tree, half of the forest is like dark, and only less of the sunlight can pass through.
exactly, only a small percentage of sunlight manages to reach the bottom layers of the forest. So why we are discussing about the forest? Because the grassland would be receiving less rainfall than forest. So it receives less rainfall than forest. Then we did learn about some of the animals that would be found to be living in a forest. These are some of the animals right now. Talking about adaptations, how they would be adapted. So first thing is that the roots of the plants would be very deep. They would be very
Yes.
deep. Like they are so deep that even if there's a fire in the grassland, there's a fire, like fire can they can be forest fire, they can be fire in the
Yes, sir.
grassland also. You guys think of this like it's a hot summer day. It's a hot summer day, and all these grasses are dry. All these grasses are dry. So if hot winds will be blowing in that area, the grasses will be rubbing against each other. And whenever something is rubbed against each other, when you rub your palm
Sir, like
against each
a
other, heat
rock.
is produced now.
Sir, like a rock. When we like olden times, they use fires to rub rock, and then the fire would be appearing.
Yeah, that is there. Okay, now right now we are learning like how can grassland catch fire. That is what we are learning. Okay, so see, the grasses now, as they get dried up, as they would be usually very dry, and if hot winds will be flowing in that region, so the grasses would be rubbing against each other, and due to rubbing, when you rub your
Yes.
palm, for example, against each other, it produces heat now. So
Yes.
if a sufficient amount, if too much of heat will be generated, they will automatically catch fire.
Yeah.
Right now, but we know that grasses, the roots of the grasses will be so deep now, even if the stem is completely burned, it can regrow if there's a rainfall. It can
Uh,
regrow if there's a rainfall like this. Getting it now, Salman, Khadijat, and Halima, what I'm trying to
yes.
say?
Yes, sir.
So because of
Yes, sir.
presence of deeper roots, plants can even survive a fire. Like a prairie fires are the common fire. Prairie fire, there's a grassland by the name of prairie. Okay, now many times it would be catching fire on its own, but it again manages to grow like this. It again manages to grow. That is one such adaptation in the grassland, that the roots are very deep. Another thing is that the leaves are very narrow. The leaves are very narrow. You guys answer this to me. Like if I'm having two kind of leaves, one that looks like this, another leaf that looks like this. Obviously, the
Yes.
second one has a large surface area. Its
Yes,
area is
sir.
more. Which one will be losing more amount of water via evaporation?
Sir, the first one.
My question is, now this is the first one, this is the second image. Which one will lose more water due to sun's heat? Due to evaporation, which will lose more water?
Second.
Second one, obviously, right, Salman,
Yes.
Khadijat, and Halima.
Yes,
But in
sir.
the but
Yes,
in
sir.
the case of grassland, the leaves are very narrow. They are very narrow, and they are long also. So they don't require much water, and neither they will be losing much amount of water. Getting it, guys?
Yes, sir.
So thereby, narrow leaves
Sir,
lose less water than
like
broad leaves. Yeah.
in the second picture, they lose like if there is so much of like you can say that if there is so much of fire going in right,
Mm-hmm.
can they like make their again one more plant.
They can regrow. Like if in the in the fire, if all the grasses are burnt now, their roots would be so deep now that the plants can survive that fire, even if the
Sir,
upper part. Mhm.
I'm saying about the second one. Can they regrow?
Can they regrow? In what context they can regrow? Like in what sense
Yeah,
you are asking this?
like
If
I'm saying in the second one, you said
Mhm.
that I mean in the first one you said that if the fire are like rubbing
Mhm.
to each other, like
Mhm.
the wind,
Mhm.
they can regrow, right?
Yeah.
But for the second one, can they regrow?
Second one, what mean? You are talking about this one. This kind of leaves.
Yeah.
No, that's a different thing. That's a different kind. Took this example to explain the another adaptation in the plants. The first adaptation was that they have got deeper roots, so thereby even if the leaves are burned in a fire, the due to presence of the deeper roots, the plants can regrow. If there's a good amount of rainfall, the plants can grow again. The second thing, while talking about the leaves now, it was discussed in another context. We were talking about the loss of water. Since there is very less rainfall in a grassland now, so it is obvious that leaves will have such adaptation which will minimize the loss of water. So due to
Yes, sir.
because they have a narrow leaf now, so the loss of water is minimized. If in contrary to that, if opposite to that, if they were to have a very broad leaf, so the loss of water would have increased. So that will not be an advantage
Okay.
for the plant. Okay, now furthermore, the stems would be flexible. If the wind will be flowing, if the stems are not flexible, the stems might get broken. We have seen
Yes.
many times in storms, the stem of the plant will break. You would have observed that, right?
Like the tall tree also it will,
Exactly.
if it's
All
very windy day, so much winds.
exactly. And its stems are soft. Stems would be soft,
Yeah.
right? And that is one thing. Talking about roots, we
Sir,
learned it would be
can
deep
they
and
break? Can
no,
the stems
no.
of them break?
Usually, no, it does not break. Since they are very soft and it can bend very easily, hence it does not break. Okay, no? So we did learn about adaptation shown by the plants in the grassland. If you were to talk
Sir,
about adaptation, no, I will be telling you once you have or when you have guys have to write. Okay, now, guys, talking about the animals now. If you were to observe this animal, isn't it doing camouflage? Isn't it doing kind of camouflage?
yes, it is.
Hmm? You guys know about camouflage? Is Khadija and Salman? You guys know what is camouflage? Yes, Salman, what is camouflage? Have you learned about camouflage? Like you would have seen that they would many times now. And
Second, I say,
yeah, sure.
sir, camouflage is like the organism used to disguise the appearance. Like they take the color of it. Like
Ex-
for example, a chameleon. Like if there
Hmm.
is a large green leaves, then it can take that color and hide from its prey.
Exactly. Right now. So basically, camouflage would be basically it's a adaptation shown by several organisms where they would be kind of blending into their environment. They would hide themselves in their environment. Thereby, it will be difficult for the predators to identify them, to detect them. Right now, they might either change their skin color or they might disguise themselves as per their color, as per their surrounding color. Like this lion is disguising itself in the surrounding color of the grasses. Getting it now? So if there's
Yes,
a deer that is several meter away from this lion, it might not be easily detectable. This lion might not be easily detectable to a deer. Getting it now? So during the
yes,
phenomena of camouflage, what happens? Like in the case of chameleon, what we know, they can change their skin color, right? While this lion, it will be disguising itself as per the color of the surrounding. Okay, na? That is one thing. Or we have also seen like many fishes now, it would lay flat in the floor of the ocean,
yes.
right now. Like there's a fish called
Sir,
as
like
stone flounder.
sir,
Mhm.
they lie flat that the other predators, like the one who is eating the fish, they will
Mhm.
notice that it's dead and will find out the other fish to catch.
Exactly. And there's a fish by the name of this one, like a stone flounder, if I'm correct. Yes, stone flounder fish. Have a look at this image. This one exactly. This is the one I'm talking about. You guys just look at the first image. Can you guys spot any fish in the very first image?
Sir, it's transparent.
It's transparent. Okay. If you guys were to look at the first image, now Khadijat and Salman, you guys also observe this. The second fish is the same fish that is in the first image also. The one that you see over here, now this one, this is the same fish in the first image, but it has disguised itself. It has changed its color similar to that of its surrounding. Getting it? What I'm trying to say? Let me
Yes,
just
sir.
take this image over here.
Sir, we can only see
Uh,
the dots and all like on the fish
exactly.
on the first one.
Hmm. So that is basically an example of a camouflage. Okay, no? I have taken this just to give you one example, but all the fishes are not found in the grassland. Okay, no?
Yes, sir.
So talking about adaptations shown by the animals in a grassland. So they would be doing camouflage. Many of the animals would be blending with the plant or plants there to hide themselves from predators or to stalk their prey. Like this lion is stalking its prey. No, it is stalking its prey. Stalking
Yes,
stalk the prey. Stalk the prey, like whenever a lion or cheetah will be hunting, will be on hunt, they will be first of all stalking their prey by hiding among the grasses. That is one thing. Furthermore, some of the animals are very small and they can even hide in these grasses. Some of the animals would be very small. They can hide in these grasses.
yes.
Betting it, guys. That is one thing. Now,
Sir,
many of the animals,
like the armadillo
like that.
next to the falcon.
Yeah. Or some of the animals would be very would be very quick. Like some animals can run very quickly to run away from their predators. That is one such adaptation in them. Some of the animals would be found to live in large herds. Like for example, that are found in the wild goats that are present in the grasslands. Now, they will always be found in large numbers. Getting it, everyone? So that they can protect
Yes.
each other and they can protect the young babies also.
Sir, even bison also like that.
Bisons also, but bisons would be usually found in less numbers.
Yes.
But yeah, they can also be taken as such example. Okay, just have a look at this one. Wild goat herd. This is how they will be found living there. Okay, this one actually I was looking for. This one I'm looking for. See how all of them would be usually found in a herd, huh? And you know these
Yes.
wild beasts are not usually very strong. So a lion or any other like hyenas, they will not usually dare to go into this group of wild beast, because the hunter will get hunted. Hmm? You have heard of the
Yes,
proverb,
sir.
the hunter gets hunted.
Yes.
Hyena is the hunter, let's say. But if that hyena were to dare to go into the herd of this wild beast, most probably opposite will happen. Instead of killing those animals, that hyena will get killed. So living
Yes,
in a
sir.
group actually provides protection. Living in large number provides protection. Getting it, guys?
Yes.
That is one such adaptation. And many of the animals in a grassland will only be active during the night. They will be only active during the night to to go undetected from their predators. Like if they were to come out in the daytime, so they might get hunted by the predators, by other animals. But during the night, most of the animals would be sleeping. So certain creatures, certain small animals would be active during the night only, and they are called as nocturnal animals. What do we call them as? Nocturnal
Nocturnal animals.
animals.
Sir,
Okay,
like
no?
an owl.
Like an
They just
owl or
sleeping in the day and
mm,
waking up like on the night.
like that, or we have some examples of rats also. That is also yeah. Okay, so you guys first of all write down this. Let me just write down this thing about adaptation in animals that will be found living in a grassland. So what are the adaptations we have discussed so far? First thing we did learn about camouflage, right? We did learn about camouflage in this. Furthermore, we did learn about herds also. Like animals would be found to be living in herds. Some of the animals would be very fast. So speed is also one such adaptation shown by certain animals, right? Some of them are nocturnal, meaning that they will be only active during the night. Getting it, guys? These are some of the adaptations. Talking about the size also, so some of them are small in size. That is also one such adaptation. So hope you guys have understood about grassland, what kind of animals or plants would be found living there, and how they would be adapted to survive there. If anyone happens to any
Yes, sir.
doubts, have any doubt, please do let me know. Otherwise, you guys give this topic in your copies, grassland, and write down these 3 points. You guys give the topic grassland and write down these 3 things. Write down the first, second, and the third statement. Salman, you have any doubts? You have any questions?
No, sir.
Good.
Sir, I'm done.
Done. Good.
Yes.
Also, Khadija and Salman, you guys see right after the class now, assignments are provided. Okay, no? Like today we have discussed this topic. So related to this topic, questions would be provided to you guys. And before the next class, you guys will be you will be required to upload the answers of those questions. Okay. So let me just sum it up what we have discussed so far from this topic. We did learned about grasslands. These are open flat areas on the land that will be covered by the grasses. Grasses would be the dominant plant in this region.
Yeah.
Wherever you look in the grassland, everywhere you will find the grasses. This region will receive more rainfall than a desert, but less rainfall than a forest.
Forest. Like rainfalls.
Yeah, like for example, rainforest. Further, we learned about various kind of animals and various kind of animals that would be living and how they will be adapted to live in this. Talking about the animals, we learned various things. Like some of them will be very fast to escape from their predators or to chase the predators, like cheetah. They are the fastest animal on the earth now. Right now, cheetahs are the
Yes.
fastest animal on earth. That is something which you have learned.
Yes.
Cheetahs, they are able to run up to 70 miles per hour. They can just reach a speed of 70 miles per hour in less than 3 seconds. In just 3 seconds, they can reach that much of a speed. So just think of it, how fast they are. They are the fastest land animals. So they will be found living in the grassland.